Audits and Government Agency to order, and I believe since we have a notable person from our convention center at just the right time, we're going to move to item 2 first, and both these items I think are going to be dispensed with pretty quickly anyway, but if you'd like to come up.
Item number 2 is a City Controller report relative to follow-up correspondence to the audit of revenues and expenses at the Los Angeles Convention Center Department.
Good afternoon, Chair. Puri Abbasi, General Manager, CEO of Los Angeles Convention Center. I'm joined by our Chief Financial Officer and Acting Assistant General Manager, Mary Jane Aquino. We were blessed with the opportunity to come before you a few months ago to talk about the not only the importance of the audit and the performance measures, but how we've taken this into heart and implemented the various measures. I'm back here again for 2 reasons, and it's coming at exactly the right time. One is basically we are 100% compliance with all the audit recommendation as committed before this committee. We came before you and we said within 12 months of the audit recommendation we would have implemented 100% of the recommendations, and we have. We have become a much better organization for that. Last week, we were blessed with the news that Los Angeles Convention Center was one of 8 organizations in the state of California that has been recognized by California Awards for Performance Excellence as as one of 8 best organizations in the state. And much of that has to do with the work that we did with the Controller's Office to enhance our operations. So again, it's coming at the right time. I want to appreciate the support that both of you and the whole committee has given us, and also the controllers.
Now, how did the issue that was raised by the controller regarding invoicing, which I think was recommendation number 11 on their list, how did that get resolved?
Yeah, if I may.
Good afternoon, Council Member. Mary Jane Aquino, Acting Assistant General Manager and Chief Financial Officer. The Convention Center put a policy in place that would have the issues. What happens is that the show managers will request for a preliminary, and what happens is that we look at the overall reports, and if there are any issues that were being set up, is that we do have a policy in place wherein paperwork and documentation will be forwarded to make sure that all of those issues are being addressed appropriately. And so the necessary approvals through the supervisory oversight has to go through, the same as any other policy. So I think we did address that appropriately.
And obviously you consider yourself compliant with that recommendation.
Certainly, certainly. And it also went a long way. Convention Center now actually has the highest accounts receivable record of any department in the city, not only in the city, but I think in the nation at 99% collection throughout the year. That has to do with us actually putting the various procedures in place, and again, that was part of the collaborative work that was done with the Controller's Office.
That's great. That's a very impressive number. And the demand-based space rental policy that was suggested by the Controller in her audit, how has that been implemented? I
think that has been the cornerstone of us being able to achieve not only our revenue numbers, the current fiscal year, but exceeding those. Just to put it in perspective, we implemented that policy on June the 6th. Up to today, I'm sitting here, we've generated additional $1 million in rental revenue because we have that in place.
Very good. And Mr. Parks, do you have any other questions of the Convention Center?
I have 2 questions. Let me write this note down. You said $1 million?
Yes.
Let me ask, there's 2 items. I was wondering, have you heard back from the CAO on the issue of the flexible parking rates?
Well, I'm also happy to report tomorrow the item is going before the Trade, Commerce, and Tourism Committee. We have asked for expedited processing. I know it was jointly going to go to TCT and Budget and Finance. And again, both staff of both committees are working together so we can get this to council as soon as possible.
Are we trying for this week?
Yes.
But the thing is, if you talk with Monique in my office.
Yes.
In that, we can waive that budget finance.
I would appreciate that.
So we can
Because,
get it to council, because that's, I think fundamentally as important as the flexible rental space.
certainly,
Because
certainly.
of the, we're charging, what, $12 a space?
Yes.
Everybody's charging $4, and we're charging $12 a space when everybody's charging $24.
Exactly, especially when Clippers are doing so well, I think this is the right time.
Is that a new team in town?
Yes.
They're playing like it at least.
So that, but that's a trade tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning, yes.
All right, and then the other one, have you heard from the CAO on the issue of the electricians through the hiring hall?
No. That item, actually, we are working with the CAO to, there are two issues there. One is just going to the hiring hall, and the overall question is, okay, how can we work within the exclusivity guidelines and all of that, that's for the provision of electrical services. Both issues they are looking at that, but I think there are general overarching issues with the convention center that this has to kind of dwell into that.
The thing is, we need to ask in the committee report that the CAO gets on that, because that's almost $1 million of savings by not doing time and a half.
Of course.
For city, I mean, to relegate the electrical work to only general services and DWP on time and a half, when you have access to hiring hall union electricians that can save you almost $1 million. I don't know why it would take us that long to save $1 million. So if we can ask that the CAO facilitates.
We'll report on that. Well, one item, so you know, kind of what movement we've taken. Again, you know, I'm very bottom line oriented. So one of the items that we've done is we've gone aggressively and worked with lacers to see if we can get, and we have been able to bring in retirees. Retirees we can pay at straight time. So that has been great savings to us right there.
No.
And if we can just expand that pool from what you're saying.
But I think the issue there is, what was it? There was some glitch on the retirees or people that had no longer full-time employees. We were still paying them time and a half because we didn't have.
Right, those we have addressed.
Okay.
Those we have addressed. But again, the larger the pool of staffing we have, the better it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have more staff, I can make more money. It's just as easy as that.
The way you explained it to me is that the electricians is probably the #1 call for service for almost any show or convention. And so whatever we can do, and we really like paying straight time.
Yes, I like it.
Particularly if you're competing with Anaheim
Certainly.
and San Diego and other places, that we're paying time and a half for electricians and everybody else is paying straight time.
Sir.
So we need the CAO to fix that.
And it may not have been your highest priority, but that's a lot of money. So we need to have that focused on and addressed.
Very good.
And do we have a representative from the Controller's office to give us a point of view on this as well?
Yeah, we just had that as instruction in the committee report.
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Wale Oyewole. I'm with City Controller's Office. Actually, the department has been very cooperative with us in working with us on the 39 recommendations in the audit. And with the exception of the overtime issue that you just raised with the general manager, we're pretty satisfied with their progress so far. And they have taken actions to implement all the recommendations.
Great.
I mean, they've contacted the CAO with respect to that overtime, but the intent of the recommendation was to minimize the overtime. So until that's resolved, we felt that the intent hasn't been met, but they have started taking actions to do that.
So we've got one item left to finish up on, and
Outside of our, that's why Wally brings up the issue of the CAO is really outside of our jurisdiction because there are labor issues there.
Hopefully the CAO can give us something when the time it comes to council.
thank you. Well, this is encouraging progress. It's all good news, and we're glad to hear it. So, thank you.
Sorry, the recommendation for disposition, council member?
Yeah, note and file.
Item number 1 is the Department of General Services and Information Technology Agency report relative to the Controller's report entitled Review of the Supply Management System Controls over Purchasing Authority. This item has been scheduled pursuant to the council action of June 1st, 2010, in which the Departments of Information Technology Agency and Department of General Services were instructed to report back on the status of implementing the audit recommendations.
Good afternoon. My name is John Triagotta with the Department of General Services. We're here to discuss a few items with you today, and I apologize. We thought we had a few more weeks before our 6-month report was due to, so I apologize. We do not have a formal report to hand you today. First of all, we're here to discuss the audit on the supply management systems controls over purchasing authority. There were several recommendations made by the Controller's Office. Unfortunately, due to layoffs, ERIP, and this little thing called the FMS system, we've not been able to accomplish as much on this audit as we would have hoped by now. We did go through and do the initial cleanup of SMS user IDs, as the Controller pointed out. However, we've ran into some difficulties with dedicating resources to tying the PACER data with the SMS system, and also coming up with an automated password reset every 90 days. We have made some progress on it, but again, it's just not quite the amount of progress that we had hoped when we last met with you. Two other items that we were asked to provide a status on. Councilman Parks, you asked us to provide a report back on off-peak deliveries. We went ahead and implemented a procedure in our bids and contracts where we are requiring our deliveries to come in off peaks. I'm happy to say that we've been very successful with that, have not run into any difficulties with it. It's going to continue to be in standard language in our bids as we move forward. Also, we were asked to provide you a status on spend management. As I explained to you in the past, General Services went through an extensive re-engineering of the procurement process, and we implemented many things known as spend management. Back in the day, we called it strategic sourcing. I'm not going to rehash all that with you. On a go-forward basis, we've started exploring other avenues such as reverse auctioning, electronic cataloging with third parties, et cetera, that we can further expand into the concept of spend management. Again, with the FMS system, our hopes are that we can partner and become a future phase of implementation with the CGI AMS package, which will help us get to our goal of fully utilizing spend management in the future.
Now, on the spend management piece of it, I've heard it estimated as high as $10 million that we could save by doing that properly.
I don't believe that's the case, Councilman, because like I said, we've gone through and reaped many of those savings already. I don't believe we will be able to recoup as much as that, maybe a few million, but I wouldn't.
I think that figure was based if you had started from ground zero.
Right.
Ken Desowitz, Director of Supply Services. As John mentioned, we've gone through many different procurement strategies over the last 10 years, so I do believe that that's highly overinflated, that $10 million estimate. We utilize extensive...
What do we think the right number is? What's left to be done and how much money could be
We
saved?
think that with reverse auctions, that's a technology and a process that may save some significant dollars. I don't know if 10 million is an appropriate figure. It's a strategy that you utilize on very high dollar volume procurements. It's not a strategy you utilize for everything. It's not a catch-all type strategy. But our use of cooperative purchasing over the last 10 years has realized some very extensive benefits. We've done joint bids with LA County. We've been the lead agency for a national procurement for copiers. So the spend management philosophy is aggregating volume, and we have tools to do that. We've had SMS for several years that does that to a degree, and we have seen demos of other products that John has mentioned and alluded to that we think there are additional opportunities.
So what's left to focus on? Is it the reverse auctions that are the main possibility that's not yet implemented?
Reverse auctions is one strategy. Electronic bidding is another strategy. And we're working with ITA and utilizing Bavon to perform that function, the mayor's or the city's business virtual assistant network. The product that's being implemented for the financial system, the AMS product Advantage. We saw a demo from LA County has that product now, and that holds some hope for future benefits as well.
What do we need to do to get the reverse auction process implemented more fully?
We're looking at piloting with a few different companies over the next 6 months. We want to see how it works. We've seen a number of stories across the country where it has benefited tremendously. We want to try it ourselves, and I think we'll be able to report back, like I say, within 6 months as to the results of the pilot projects.
And if we could ask you to do that, to report back in 6 months on that, that would be great. Mr. Parks, any questions?
You know, just a tiny brief on what the reverse auction does and how it works. And I have clarity.
Good question. Are you familiar with eBay? eBay is a process where you buy things and a seller posts an item that they want you to buy, and you can submit a number of bids during the period of time that that process is open. What we're talking about is the reverse, where we want to buy something, but the sellers are going to be bidding a number of different times electronically over an open period of time. That open period of time could be a matter of 4 hours. It could be a matter of a week or 2 weeks. But there's a lot of preparation work that's done with these companies to get them ready for the process, because there has to be a great deal of competition and it has to be a significant procurement in order to realize the benefits.
What kind of commodities are we talking about?
Literally anything. What we're looking at initially, potentially, is street lighting utilizes these nodes that are put on top of street lights, and it's a fairly significant procurement, roughly $1.5 million. And we're looking at that as a potential opportunity. Fleet equipment is another opportunity.
When we say significant, are we talking dollar significant?
Yes.
Or bulk significant?
Dollar significant, because if you potentially save, 1% or 5%, but you're only buying, a $5,000 item, there's not much benefit there. So we're looking at significant dollar procurement.
So you're talking about $1 million purchases?
Correct. Yeah.
And there, obviously, if you save 5%, you're talking some real money.
Yes.
And then on the electronic bidding, is that just where, instead of going through the whole paperwork process, you allow people to do it over the computer? Is that
Correct. Yes.
And right now, we have some technological challenges with the SMS system. That's one of the things we're looking towards the FMS system, and hopefully we can overcome some of those challenges and migrate over to their platform.
And I think we've talked about this before. When that motion was done about spend management, I don't think anybody had an idea of what had happened before. And so
Understood.
Yeah, so
Understood.
The issue is a lot of the savings has been captured.
Yes, and we're taking that as an opportunity to see what more can we do. So thank you for the encouragement. I know that wasn't really the intent, but we're looking to see what more we can do.
Any sense of what the dollar savings would be in the electronic bidding and purchasing?
No, I don't have a real good estimate. only because it's difficult to benchmark, because we've been doing different strategies for so long now, it's hard to really identify. With the pilot projects that we're looking at doing with the reverse auctions, we have real good benchmark data because it's our existing contract price, and or there's a cooperative, another agency's price that we can benchmark against. So again, we'll report back in approximately 6 months and give you some good news.
That'd be great.
The thing I was gonna ask you, on the issue of the peak delivery, is that a done deal, that's done? Are you the primary group that would deal with people delivering, or are there other departments that need to look at that?
We're the primary group that would be receiving deliveries because of our warehousing operations, and as John mentioned, we've had no complaints. We've amended most of our contracts, and that language is part of all of our bids that go out.
So that's done?
That's done.
We've also sent the broadcast out to the SMS users, back when we implemented this, encouraging them on their blanket purchase orders to incorporate similar language. Their deliveries are under $1,000 per order though, so it's.
Thank you.
Now, if we asked you to try and report back earlier in 6 months in time to be reflected in the budget process, would that be practical if we said 3 or 4 months?
I don't think it's going to be realistic in terms of significantly impacting the budget until we do a full implementation, and we're only looking at doing a pilot with a handful of bid opportunities. I mean, we'll
So
report.
as a practical matter to impact the budget, we're probably looking at the following year's budget.
Correct.
Having a better sense at that point.
Yes.
Thank you. And do we have anyone here from Controller's Office to put in their 2 cents on this subject?
Siri Kalsa, Controller's Office. The audit did include 8 recommendations. 6 were specifically related to GSD and ITA, and we did recently analyze their current implementation status, and we agree that they are partially implemented at this time.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
No.
If not, if we could move to receive and file this item and to get a report back in 6 months as we discussed. And there are no citizen comments from the public cards, so we are adjourned.